Hospitals in northern Israel have been told to shift to a war footing, transferring operations to facilities with extra protection from airstrikes. This after Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia based in Lebanon, fired a barrage of missiles targeting industrial and military sites. Most of the 105 rockets were intercepted, though some homes were hit. Air raid sirens sounding throughout the night. The strikes were in response to a series of Israeli attacks in Lebanon this week. There's been a near daily exchange of cross-border fire since the war in Gaza began almost 1 year ago. But if confirmed, this Hezbollah assault would be the furthest reaching attack inside Israel since the conflict began. For more, let's speak to our senior reporter, James Andre, standing by in Beirut. Hello to you, James. An intensification of these strikes overnight. Tell us more about what transpired.
Yes, indeed. What we are seeing is indeed an intensification of violence along this border between Lebanon and Israel. Yesterday evening, Israel was flying missions and attacking inside Lebanon on Hezbollah targets. I mean, there were reports that in some instances there were over 50 air raids in a 40-minute window. So extensive damage to Hezbollah infrastructure. And then Hezbollah responding with these over 115, it is said here, missiles that were fired into Israel, most of which were, according to Israeli spokespeople, intercepted by the Iron Dome system, but some did fall. Now, Hezbollah here have been announcing that their targets were, and indeed it appears some of these rockets have actually hit these targets. One is the Ramat David air base in northern Israel. The other is a company called Rafael that indeed is a defense company near Haifa. There as well, there have been impacts and fire. So not all these missiles have been intercepted. There are some lightly wounded people inside Israel. But indeed, this is quite clearly an escalation. And of course, people here in Lebanon are worried that things could get worse. Indeed, doctors, for example, in hospitals have been telling us that they're bracing for potential casualties if there was an intensification of the war. We've been seeing the streets here in Beirut being calmer than usual in previous days. And well, it's important to note that if there was an intensification of this war, it does appear that Israel, with its pager attack, has taken clearly a step further, has broken this kind of mutual deterrence there was along this border. And this means that there is a potential conflict looming with, according to the CIA, they consider that Hezbollah has 45,000 men and 150,000 missiles and rockets at hand. So, of course, this could be a pretty violent conflict.
James, on Friday, Israel carried out airstrikes on a Beirut suburb targeting senior members of Hezbollah. That death toll has risen to 45. Among the dead was top commander Ibrahim Akil. His funeral being held today. What more can you tell us?
Yes, absolutely. The funeral is planned for this afternoon, and indeed it will probably be a very large gathering of people. Indeed, Ibrahim Akil was very much one of the most senior commanders of the whole of the Hezbollah's military infrastructure. He was killed alongside Ahmed Wahabi, who was seen as the coordinator with Hamas and also one of the main trainers of the Hezbollah's military force and an important coordinator. So yes, indeed, this strike, which we visited the site of this strike yesterday with the team, we saw that the building, a 9-story building, had been completely leveled. The targets were actually holding a covert meeting underneath the building, and indeed the Israeli Air Force used 4 missiles in order to collapse that building. Now, yes, they did manage to kill these Hezbollah senior operatives and leaders, but indeed there's been a lot of collateral damage, with 45 people killed in total, over 60 people wounded. And yesterday in the afternoon, we saw diggers and first responders still on site trying to find potential survivors, as well as the families of the civilians who had been killed in this attack, who were mourning and crying close to the location.
All right, James, thank you very much. James Andre reporting from Beirut.